Hello, this is I Go Travel with Don Barnett, and we are headed for the Cariboo Gold Rush in Barkerville, BC. And we'll take a look at, go right into some of the buildings in Barkerville. And then we'll take a look at the law and how they never fooled around with a pack of lawyers in those days. And finally, we'll tell you about the Hurdy Gurdy girls. Let's start off by looking at inside some of the buildings at Barkerville. Some buildings were painted, some were more rustic, like this one here. Let's go inside and take a look. And inside, all kinds of rooms you can look at in the different houses. You can see the pioneer style, the tablecloths and the old-time clock there. Here's another building. An organ seemed to be popular. Here's a crochet. Look at the crocheted tablecloth. People didn't have television in those days. They couldn't jump in cars and go for a drive. So hobbies like woodwork with the men and ironwork, and the women, some of the sewing. Like I say, look at the crocheted work here for this tablecloth. A lot of very fine needlework was done in those days. A lot of people seem to own a rifle back in those days for hunting. The old rocking chair, wood stove in the corner, and the kerosene lamp on the table there. This was in a smaller house where the bedroom on the left there, the bed was right in the living room area, all in one big area. I grew up in a smaller one-room house like that. Just one rectangular room. We had a wire stretched across the middle of it with a curtain. And in the back half of the room were the beds where we kids and the parents all slept. And the other half of the one-roomed house was the kitchen and the living room area. And my dad would stay up late at night listening to the radio and while we kids slept. And I tell you one thing, it had an effect on you. It made me a sound sleeper. I can sleep anywhere. A train or a herd of cattle can run outside the tent, and I have slept through all of it. It made me a sound sleeper, that small one-room house. Here is a bedroom in another house. Notice the wallpaper on the walls. No paint on the walls. In those days, the fashion was to cover your walls with wallpaper. This was another feature in the bedroom, a pot. No indoor plumbing in those days. If you had to get up in the night to pee, it was no fun crawling through the dark or rain to the outdoor outhouse, or wading up to your knees through deep snow in the cold of winter. The pot beside or under the bed came in handy. The pot was big enough for the woman to sit on. And for the man, I don't know what he did. He either lifted the pot up or dropped to his knees. You don't always have to drop to your knees to pray. Sometimes to pee. Wait, my cameraman is waving like he's bothered with flies. What's wrong up there? I shouldn't use that word pee. Urinate. How do you spell that? With a Y? Urinate. Okay. Okay. I'll knock that word P out of the video. You got my word on it. You know, that cameraman, he's dumb as a post. He still doesn't know that my word is no good. I got a quick story about that urinated pea pot. I had an aunt and uncle who had a boy, and he got married, and they lived way out in the country. And so after the wedding, the neighbors all planned to come over and have a chivalry, a celebration for the wedding. Well, the old folks and the newlyweds all ate supper and waited for the folks to come. And it was 9 o'clock, 10 o'clock, nobody showed up. At 11 o'clock, midnight, nobody showed up. Well, maybe they had misunderstood or something. They couldn't figure out what went wrong. Anyway, at about 1 o'clock in the morning, they all went to bed. Well, the neighbors came around at 2 or 3 in the morning, and they gathered outside the window of where the newlyweds were sleeping, and they had 2 shotguns, double barrels, and they blasted those off. Well, it woke everybody up. My aunt leaped out of bed in the other bedroom and stepped right in the urinating pea pot. And she got wet right up above her ankles in the excitement. Anyway, thank goodness we have indoor plumbing these days. No more stepping in the pot. This is another area in another house. Some houses had upstairs. Just notice the steepness of the stairs in those days. If you trip and fell on those stairs, you would keep rolling until you hit the bottom. They were steep. And notice the height of the risers on those stairs. Almost double what it is today on steps. Let's look at some of the stores. This was a barber shop, and inside this one was looked like a library, a bookstore. This was a bakery or a grocery store. Notice the washboards down at the bottom, the 2 of them. You rub clothes across them to wash them. This was some office with files. This old print shop still operated with the actual tools, printing pamphlets for the tourists today. And I showed this forge in another video. This was an interesting pharmacy shop. It was before plastic bottles. Everything was glass bottles. These bottles would hold everything from oils to syrups to poisons to various medicines. Barkerville had several saloons, which was a term that indicated American influence during the gold rush. The main leisure time was spent in drinking and gambling, but there was also some dancing, playing billiards or pool. There was hunting and fishing, some boxing, and some horse racing. There was no hospitals or medical insurance, but there was an infirmary room where the ill and injured were cared for. This was a place you wanted to avoid, the dentist's chair. And this was one of the one-room schoolhouses in Barkerville. And there was a couple of churches still standing from the gold rush days. They were the Methodist and Anglican churches, and in one of them they enacted a trial by the well-known and respected and feared Judge Begbie of the time. Begbie became known as the hanging judge. The law in those pioneer times was that if you committed murder, the automatic sentence was hanging, and Judge Begbie upheld the law every time. The judge rode into town and held court and judgment often in the same day. None of this weeks of many lawyers and legal assistants that characterize trials today. Trial and judgment occurred quickly, and Judge Begbie rode on to the next community. Listen to what they said in this enactment.
You must wait for the judge to come through, and then and only then can court proceedings take place. And do you know, once a trial begins, do you know that a trial in our time can last an entire day? Oh, yes. Yes. When we say your day in court, that's it. That's what you get. You will get no more. You will get no more if we can help it, that's for sure, because On the circuit court, well, we have to see at least 3 cases a day to keep it moving, mustn't we? Sometimes 4, a whole day to one case.
In a nutshell, the British and Canadian systems of government were not going to tolerate the lawlessness that they had seen in many American events and communities. One reason that I wanted to go to Barkerville and see the Cariboo gold rush was I had heard that there were the Hurdy Gurdy girls there in Barkerville. That's Hurdy Gurdy. That sounded pretty good to me. Hosts at Barkerville dressed according to the times. It was the Victorian age. Queen Victoria was on the throne of England, and a rise in women's stature was part of the Victorian age. Miners vastly outnumbered the women. Miners' time was spent mostly in work, gambling, and drinking. But there were also some stag dances of all men. Those who danced as women partners were identified with white handkerchiefs tied to their arm. So somebody got the idea to bring in more females, and girls were bought for a price in the poor areas of Europe and shipped over to North America. The families of these girls was out of debt, and their daughters left for the New World in America. These girls became known as the Hurdy Gurdy girls because they danced to the sounds of a popular musical instrument called the Hurdy Gurdy. Have a listen to the sound of this instrument. The Hurdy Gurdy was a violin-type instrument that produced sound when a crank was turned. It was popular when played with the bagpipes, and only after many years and decades it was replaced in churches by the organ. Local townswomen never cared for the Hurdy Gurdy girls. They were kind of a competition, but these girls, who were only 14, 15 years of age, were not hookers or prostitutes, but they often ended up marrying local miners. Saloon owners kept the girls in continual debt to pay costs for their voyage from Europe, things like local travel costs and expenses for their accommodations and clothing. The Hurdy Gurdy girls danced to the music with each customer on the dance floor. Unlike the can-can girls that we're more familiar with, the can-can girls danced as a group up on the stage and entertained the audience sitting in the chairs or benches below. In contrast, these, like I say, the Hurdy Gurdies danced with the individual customers. And this is how it worked. Listen to this explanation.
Now, the most popular dance amongst miners and hurdies in this gold rush is called ringing the bell. So if I get my hoop skirt going, you can see why it's called ringing the bell. So the idea is the miner dances the young lady about the establishment, builds up some speed and momentum, and when he feels the moment is right, he takes her by the waist and he attempts to swing her right upside down so her feet touch the ceiling. If he accomplishes this, he's rung the bell and he gets a free drink on the house, of course.
Here is an actual enactment of ringing the bell. Okay, we're getting ready to ring the bell. Not that high. Now, as you know, what goes up must come down. So when the girl was lifted up and her feet came near the ceiling, the big bell-shaped dress that she wore fell down over her head, exposing her panties. And for the boys from the mines, that was worth at least another drink or so. Well, I guess we've wound her down. And I hope you enjoyed it, and I hope even more so you learned a little bit about Canadian history and why we are like we are. And in the meantime, hit the subscribe button. That'll tell you when more videos are coming on the internet. And if you want to find out and see some of those other videos, just follow these few directions here, and we'll see you down the trail. To find more of my videos, just do what it says on the bottom of this card. You don't even need to Google the little @ sign. Just Google my name, Don Barnett 5090. Then click my name, and then click on the word playlists in the middle of the page, and scroll down. Each playlist contains several travel videos.